All right, yo, 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 it's your boy Yoshi Kid Neo, and we are back in the world of Boridil, the ruination of Boridil. And today we are going to be doing a DM Diaries about episode 6, part 6, session 6, whatever, modifier you want to use to it, which I have renamed since the broadcast to the Road to Bleakbell. The reason is I always anticipate the party to get to the combat that I have planned sooner than it actually happens. So the funny part is that they spent the whole session role-playing. They got to the point where I wanted them to be, and, we ended it there because the combat, I think it was like 8:30, and I usually try to get off or finish the session within about roughly 2.5 to 3 hours, depending. Sometimes we go to 4, depends on what we're doing. But I didn't want to start the combat with the creature, the griffin, that they're about to fight, because that combat's probably going to take a whole session, 100%. Not because of... Actually, my guess is it's going to take the whole session. And that's just because this is a legendary creature they're going up against. And it should be fun. I haven't ran... Let's see, last legendary creature I ran against them, I think technically was Strahd, and that was really brutal. But they were also level 10, and Strahd had spells. This creature does not have level or any spells, but the party's also not level 10. They don't need to be level 10 technically. They should be fine. There's 5 of them versus the 1 creature, so... But based on what we saw from the CR6 version, this creature can dish out the damage, 100%. So it's going to be a pretty interesting fight. But let's get into what the party did last time, shall we? So here we are on my landing page. I've actually been really busy doing stuff with my Raspberry Pi. I've learned other ways to essentially host my server to make it a little easier to save all my files and file systems from the Raspberry Pi and keep them backed up periodically. So I'm currently sort of changing the way I've hosted it. It's still working, but there's limitations to it, and I need to fix those. But I'm in the process of doing that. Hopefully I finish it all tomorrow. We'll see. But regardless, that's not why we're here. So the landing page hasn't changed much. I've started to add some of the backstory. The characters would know about the world itself. And the one thing that all of them are going to probably have found out based on their roles that I had them do is, what is the ruination of Boridil? Why have I named the campaign this? And it's actually not a foreshadowing of the future. It is a replication of the past. That might not be the right verbiage, but regardless, it is a story of the past, and the characters are going to end up seeing something that, could possibly make history repeat itself, maybe. I don't know. Really depends on what they do. But the ruination of Boridil is the pinnacle point of one of the liches of the world getting to be so powerful that upon her disappearance, the void of magic that was left behind because of her banishment compacted so much that it changed the continents, made them come crashing together to form the map that we see now. So Joe, if you are seeing this, yes, you were correct. This is the same landscape. If you notice, most of the locations on the previous map are very, very much hinted at with the sort of founding of this, but there's some key differences that we'll end up picking up on, mainly because there's a lot of locations that the party didn't get to explore in the last campaign due to an untimely death. So anyway, as this void of magic caused everything to crash into each other, a lot of people died, a lot of the kingdoms fell, And if they didn't fall then, they were so unstable afterwards that they fell later. So that's why all the kingdoms from the last campaign are essentially wiped. There are remnants of those kingdoms within the land for the party to find. There's going to be a lot of throwbacks, a lot of Easter eggs once they start getting to certain locations of characters that survived because they're also immortal for whatever reason. Probably some items. I'm probably going to have them find items that they had previously, or at least were exposed to previously, and they'll be like, wow, this is like an artifact from the past. Whoa, what does it do? You know damn well what it does. So that's the ruination of Boridil. So we time skipped forward a couple hundred years, but this campaign still takes place before my first original campaign, which featured Nagex as the big bad evil girl. So yeah, BBEG still, it's still technically gender neutral, I guess, but that doesn't matter. Who cares? Anyway, the party, last time we had met, as you can see, they've made a little progress. They started in Grim Meadow. That's where they essentially came from, or woke up, and that's where we started the session. So they woke up, or no, we started it at sort of the end of the night. The party were doing some things. They wanted to do some downtime, things like that, talk to each other. Dr. Thorpe, our man Dr. Thorpe down here, he went to go and look for Alfric because Alfric was missing. He had left after Cassiel had essentially blown up on the whole party, but Cassiel sort of pinpointed on Alfric. I keep calling him Alfric. His name's fucking Lloyd. Damn it, Jeffrey. Damn it. Anyway, Lloyd was just like, I'm just going to leave if you're going to be like this. That way we don't have to worry about it. So peace out. So he left. Cassiel was there kind of, you know, just on his own, doing his thing. And everybody else kind of left to do their own thing as well. They went to go walk around, see what was going on, and just get a lay of how things in this town are going. So it was very, very, very simple. Not really much happened when we started the session, except for Dr. Thorpe ended up finding Lloyd. Lloyd had gone to some random barn and set up his tiny hut, his alarm spell, and that's where he was going to sleep for the night. So Lloyd ended up seeing Dr. Thorpe approach, mainly because his alarm spell was triggered, and they started to talk. Lloyd divulged a little bit of how he feels about the whole situation. He doesn't like that, you know, he's being singled out because it wasn't just him that was doing stuff. It was pretty much everybody had something to do with what had happened, and, you know, he was upset. Lloyd was upset. So Dr. Thorpe said that he's going to be working on that little dynamic relationship between the two characters, so that should be fun to see. But inevitably, everyone came back. They all slept. They woke up the next morning, and everybody kind of dispersed and got ready to head out on the road. And then they hit the road. So they hit the road, started moving towards Krayot, which is the Empire's capital. So this whole region of sort of grassland, I don't know if this is included. We'll say it's included, but it's technically not. But this is all, what did I call them? The Therunian Empire? Thurian Empire. I'm gonna learn the empires that I've created for this world eventually, but, you know, haven't had to say their names very often. So they're heading to Krayot. Two reasons. One, Lord Saxon told them that he would be there. Two, he said that it would also be easier for them to get to Bleakbell from traversing the sea as opposed to trying to go on the land. Mainly because if you look, there's a bunch of hills and shit. There's not really a main road. Like Bleakbell being a harbor town, most of its stuff is traded between the little harbor right here. They don't have any real reason or resources to like go and try to traverse this or make a road. There's no reason for it when you could get here. And the distance, 66 miles, they would have to traverse kind of like this. And it ends up being like around 102. Whereas you can go down here, take a boat, and look at that, 72 miles. So that's the reason most people just take or charter a ship from here to Bleakbell. Bleakbell is nestled in a nice little pocket right next to a cliff with a very, very nice opening to this gulf right here. I'm thinking about like maybe extending this to make this more of a gulf. That should be pretty cool. But regardless, this is where everything exciting is going to happen. This is where we're really going to learn more about Lord Saxon and who he is. We're going to learn about more of the characters' backstories and their missions that they're either their patrons or whoever has some sort of like headroom above them and is not controlling, but I guess guiding where they're headed to. This is where we're going to find out more about that stuff. It's also going to be a great place for Agent J and Cassiel, because this is where they're going to learn more about what it is that they're supposed to do as characters. Because Cassiel right now has just been told, hey, go fight evil. Earn your place up in the heavens. He's like, cool, how do I do that? And they're like, just go do it. So he has no idea, no real guidance on what to do. So this will be very interesting for him to learn. So the party, and what's funny is I pretty much have just explained most of the session in 5 minutes, just because I'm not going to go into the details of all their conversations. But essentially, when Lloyd regrouped, Cassiel and Lloyd had a heart-to-heart. Cassiel said that he was just upset that he's trying to do good things, but he didn't really realize that not everyone shares the same values as him. Because of that, he now knows that with this group, he's going to have to learn to let some things go, but he also foreshadowed that there will be occasions where letting things go is not going to be an option for him, and the party's going to have to deal with that, and they're going to have to let it go. So he's obviously an arbiter of the good. He wants to do good things, and he has essentially shown his hand in that regard to the party so that they know. So now the party has started to make their way up to the Empire's capital of Krayat. And my intention was, because we left it right before they were taking a long rest, is they would wake up, they would probably talk to a couple NPCs that they've met already, or just some random people, maybe a 10 to 15 minute ordeal. But they ended up talking to each other for a very, very long time. And I think we actually started late as well, because I think Jeffrey just lost track of the time. So we ended up starting late, which I think ultimately that's why we couldn't do the combat. The combat could probably be done in an hour, or at least paused, or I could, make it to where if we got closer to our time, the creature realizes, okay, this is a little tougher than I thought. Let me regroup. I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna come back and fuck you guys up later when you least expect it. That's definitely an option for this creature. But my main goal, I want it to take the whole session, or at least until one side is the definitive winner. Because the small griffin that they killed 2 sessions prior is obviously the child of the griffin they're going to be fighting on Wednesday. So that bigger griffin, the larger griffin, is the mother, and it went towards Grim Meadow. It smelt that its young had been defeated, but what it also picked up is who defeated it. So the people of Grim Meadow were spared because they had no hand in it, and the griffin was able to pick up the scent and see that it led on this trail and has started to follow this trail. The Griffin is superior in speed to the party in their little wagon. So, and it's a smart creature. I'm actually let me look at how. Yeah, so its intelligence is 6, which obviously is below average. 10 is average technically for D&D character, but for a creature that doesn't speak, 6 is actually really freaking smart. Its instincts are sharp. It has a lay of the land. It is intelligent in knowing how to hunt its prey. So it doesn't just follow the road and just fly above the road, you know, parallel. It flies to where it's out of eyesight from a majority of things in the road. It flies close to the tree level so that it can see things and duck behind cover before it sees them. So it spotted the party probably after their first or second day of travel. I'm pretty sure they traveled 2 days to get to this point. And it got up to this wooded location that they're at. So let's get to... So this is the map that I created for this fight. So the party rolled up. They're in here, in this area. Why is there a combat going? Oh, it's not started. Good, because there is no encounter. So the party rolled in, they parked the cart, and they noticed that there is a dead horse. Oh, excuse me. There's a dead horse right here, and a turned over carriage. They used Beltran and Frederick, the 2 familiars that can fly, to go and scout out the area. Beltran had a very piss poor perception check, so it did not see the griffin. And I rolled a griffin stealth check because it was back here doing its thing. So Beltran didn't see anything. The woods were a little too thick, but it heard something. It knows that there's something in these woods. And essentially this is like a wooded area. I believe there's stumps and stuff would be more realistic, that there's stumps around this area and they just haven't cleared this out yet, like any lumberjacks nearby. So there, Frederick though, he saw that there was a man cradling what looked to be probably a teenage child in his arms. And when Frederick flew around, it made eye contacts, and the man, you know, was like, shh. So they know that there's someone in here hiding. They don't know what they're hiding from, but they have a good guess. Let's see. So they know something is in these woods. They know there's this man that's hiding, and they know that this horse is missing its like belly and intestines and stuff. So they park the cart, they get out, they spread out, they start moving. I had anyone that moved had to roll a stealth check, I believe. Yep, I made them roll a stealth check to see if they ended up making any noise that the griffin could perceive. And based on their rolls and the griffin's passive perception, from this distance, I think it's like, oh shit, yeah, 200 feet, they ended up snapping some twigs or kicking some rocks, something like that. And the griffin heard them and started making some noise. So the noises that I got for this, I actually, let me see, they should play. So they ended up hearing, I don't think that's working. Hold on, my settings got all jacked up, so I don't, yeah, that's not what I want it to be. So this is cable B. There we go. So they hear that coming from in the little forest, and they're like, that's not good. So they continue moving. Now the horses are starting to freak out because they hear that. The horses hear that sound and they're like, there's a fucking predator here. We gotta like get out of here before we get eaten. Trina did a really good animal handling. She rolled a natural 20, which brought her up to a 21. The DC to get these guys to calm down a little bit was 20. But they still made noise, obviously. Now, even though she's got these horses calm, they neigh. They, you know, and the griffin hears this. Now, one thing lore-wise about a griffin is that they are part tiger, or no, part lion, part eagle. And they love horse meat. That is their absolute favorite meal, 100% horse meat. So it hears these horses neighing, and it is already eating on a horse. And it's like, yo, fresh food. Let's get it. So then it roars, and I apologize if this is really loud, but here we go. Yeah. And with that scream, that is where we ended the session. So not a lot happened in terms of story progression. Actually, very little happened because the party were sort of talking about party dynamics and things like that. They're like, all right, so what are the things that you require in the group? What are things that I can improve on as a person to better help you? There's a lot of backstory conversation, mainly with the characters that have some sort of patron or, you know, power at B that blesses them with their power. And a lot of, where did you come from? What are your actual goals? And what else can you do? So that was actually really good. But it was overall a good session. The party, I think if we had started on time, we would have started fighting this beast. Let me just show you real quick. Look at that thing. Like, that already just looks terrifying. Like, if that were to fly anywhere near me, yeah, I'd have brown pants. But yeah, so that was this session. Like I said, super short for this DM Diaries. But the next session we'll go over, or we'll be doing combat with this creature. Depending on how long it takes, if it does take a literal entire combat, we might do a DM Diaries the following week and go over the next 2 sessions. But yeah, we'll end up seeing what happens. I don't know how long it'll take for the party to defeat this creature, but we shall see. So that's it for the DM Diaries for this session. We will be live on Wednesday on Twitch, YouTube, and the Facebook Yoshi Kid Neo Gaming page at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. I don't know why I was drawing a blank, but thank you everyone for coming out. Hopefully you enjoyed, and yeah, hope to see you Wednesday.